We begin this hour with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky's surprise visit to the U.S.
The Ukrainian president is on his way to the White House to meet with President Biden. He will address a joint meeting of Congress later today. This is President Zelensky's first known trip abroad since the war in Ukraine began. The visit comes as Russia ramps up its attacks on his country and as Congress debates a long-term spending deal. The proposal includes billions of dollars in additional military aid to Ukraine. Let's bring in Ambassador William Taylor. He is the former U.S. ambassador to Ukraine and vice president for Russia and Europe at the U.S. Institute of Peace. Ambassador, thank you so much for joining us today.
Glad to be here, Jim.
Ambassador, does the timing of this surprise visit in any way stand out to you?
The timing is excellent. The timing is excellent. As you just pointed out, the Congress is considering additional funds, significant additional funds for Ukraine that will last through next year. And President Zelenskyy is considering how he can attack the Russians, how he can counterattack the Russians to keep them on their back foot. The Ukrainians are on the front foot, and he wants to keep the Ukrainians on the front foot. He was just in Bakhmut. He was just where the fighting is the heaviest 2 days ago. And he wants to be sure, President Zelenskyy wants to be sure that that support continues. And he knows that his biggest ally, the United States, has provided more support than anyone else, but has led an international coalition, is there considering additional funds. So this is a perfect timing for his visit.
That's really interesting because House Republican leader Kevin McCarthy had said that his party won't write a, quote, blank check for Ukraine. I'm wondering, does President Zelenskyy's visit win over some of these on-the-fence lawmakers?
Lana, I expect it will. As we all know, he's a charismatic speaker. He's a charismatic leader. He's an international leader that has been able to motivate not just Ukrainians, but the world in support of Ukraine and in opposition to this horrible attack, these series of attacks, this invasion, this aggression by the Russians. So he's able to win people over. He's able to make the case that Ukraine is fighting for our security as well as his. He knows that he's fighting for Ukrainian independence and freedom and sovereignty. But he is also, I imagine he will tell us, he will remind us, he will explain to us how he is, and the fight in Ukraine is really for European security and U.S. security. So he will be able to win people over, Lana.
Ambassador, we're talking about the meaning of this visit, both to Ukraine and to the United States, but I'm interested in what message this visit sends to Russia.
Jim, it's a great question. This is a very strong message. If President Putin has any thought that the support from the United States or the support from the Europeans, or indeed the support of all the Ukrainians is able to be shaken by these attacks, these Russian attacks on civilians, Russian attacks on civilian infrastructure, trying to make the Ukrainians freeze in the winter as it comes on. If he had any thought that that was going to fade, that support was going to falter, this visit demonstrates the opposite. This demonstrates that the United States is with President Zelenskyy, and President Biden is bringing along the total coalition that has been there so far and will remain.
Ambassador, you and I have spoken before about how many of the actions that the U.S. has taken seem to be with one eye on Vladimir Putin and with knowledge that he would use certain actions by the U.S. as an excuse for escalation. Do you think that this trip might serve as an excuse for him to go even further, go harder than he has, perhaps bring Belarus into this conflict?
Lana, I don't think so. President Putin has made statements all the way through about what kinds of weapons he might use or what kind of other actions he might take. And it's always been talk. It has always been talk. We remember very well, Lana, you remember how he conducted these referenda in a couple of the provinces. And he said, based on that referendum, he was going to annex and did. He thought, in his view, annex these these provinces of Ukraine into Russia. The very next day, the Ukrainian military pushed the Russian military out of the capital of one of those. And what did the Russians do? Nothing. The Russians have, the only thing they've been able to do is bombard civilian targets. They can't win on the battlefield. The Ukrainians are winning on the battlefield. And so, no, I don't think we should be deterred from providing the support, the long-range weapons that the Ukrainians have been asking for and that has been discussed within the administration. We know that the president has decided now to provide Patriot missiles to be able to knock down these ballistic missiles and cruise missiles and aircraft. So we know that President Biden is not deterred. We know Ukrainians are not deterred. And so that needs to continue.
All right. Ambassador William Taylor, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you, Lana. Good to be here.